Hey friends, welcome back to more Storytime Fun. Today we are reading Mindy and the Goose No One Else Could See by Sam McBratney, illustrated by Linda Olafstiertisch. Before we get started, make sure to like, share, and subscribe if you're enjoying these stories. Once there was a girl named Mindy who was afraid of something that no one else could see. This thing that she was afraid of, this thing that no one else could see, was a big goose. It came into her room as quietly as a thought comes into your head, and it stayed there for as long as it wanted to. When she told her dad about it, he said, "A what? There's a goose in your room?" He searched high and low for the big goose, but he could not find it. Mindy's mom made fun of it. She waved a wooden spoon above her head and said, "Any goose that comes in here will get a smack on his silly bottom." Mindy thought the big goose might be angry about the wooden spoon. Mom and Dad shut her window tight, but windows, walls, and doors couldn't stop the big goose. It came and stayed as usual. "It isn't real, my love," her mother said. "Nobody has a goose in their room." "I do," said Mindy. "Well, you'll just have to close your eyes and make it not real." That night, as Mindy slept between her mommy and daddy, her mom whispered to her dad, "We have a problem, you know. How do we get rid of this awful goose?" Mindy's father had been asking himself the same question. He thought of how the wise old man named Austin, who had helped many people in the village with sensible advice. "I'll go and see him," thought Mindy's dad. "I'll see what he has to say about geese." Austin and his animals lived halfway up the mountain called Shelling Hill. He greeted Mindy's dad as if he were a long-remembered friend and listened with care to the story of the big goose. "You see what we're up against, Austin," Mindy's dad said. "How can we deal with the fear of what isn't actually there?" At that moment, a young goat wandered over for a cuddle from Austin, who fed her an apricot. The goat swallowed the apricot, but returned the hard stone to the hand of her master. Then Austin looked up and said, "I think you should bring your Mindy to see me. Make sure she knows I live a long way away. Make sure she knows she's going on a journey." And so it happened that Mindy and her father set off on the journey to Shelling Hill. When they arrived, Austin had them say hello to the animals, including his two noisy geese. Then they went indoors for some fruit juice. Before long, a young goat poked open the door and wandered in as if she owned the place. Austin passed a big, juicy apricot to Mindy. "Here," said Austin, "this is what she wants. Give it to her, and if she likes you, she will give you back the stone. Let's see." The goat returned the stone into Mindy's small hand. "What's her name?" Mindy asked. "Oh, I have so many goats that I run out of names. I just call her number 15. What would you call her?" "I would call her Black and Whitey," said Mindy. "Perfect," Austin laughed. "Black and Whitey it shall be." On the way home, Mindy's dad talked about what they had seen on Shelling Hill. "What did you think of those two geese?" he asked carefully. "Nice. They were nice geese." After a pause, Mindy added, "But the big goose isn't nice." It was not the answer her father wanted to hear. A week went by of heavy rainfall and clinging mud and sticky boots. Mindy's mom answered a knock at the door, and there stood Austin, dripping wet. "Come in," she said. "Such weather to be out in." "Sure, I never miss market day," said Austin. And in he came, himself and a goat on the end of a short rope. Mindy recognized Black and Whitey at once. "Mommy, do we have any apricots?" "Dear me, no, just some plums." "Oh, plums will do," said Austin. "Goats are anything but fussy. Now then, Mindy, let's see if Black and Whitey still likes you. Will she give you back the stone?" "She should, because you gave her such a lovely name." There was more than one plum, and therefore more than one stone for Mindy to accept from the goat. Suddenly she threw both arms around Black and Whitey and gave her a mighty neck squasher of a hug. Black and Whitey seemed well pleased. "Oh yes," said Austin with a smile. "You two will be friends. I'm giving her to you, Mindy." Little Mindy looked at the old man with an extraordinary shine in her eyes. Then Austin said, "But I must have something in return. You see, it's terribly bad luck to give away an animal without getting something back. So I thought I might exchange Black and Whitey for the big goat that no one else can see." He paused. It was quite a long pause. "Would you agree to that?" Mindy nodded once. "The only problem is," said Austin, "you've been to my cottage, so you know how far away it is. What a journey! Along the wide river, down the deep valley, and up the foggy hill. Poof! You will not see that goose again." Little Mindy seemed to be in deep thought as she fed her goat the last of the plums. Then she whispered to herself as softly as could be, "I love my Black and Whitey." 2 quick months went by. Mindy's dad went to see the wise old man on Shelling Hill and said, "I came to thank you, Austin. There has been no talk of a big goose since the arrival of a certain goat, for which I must pay you." A twinkle flickered in Austin's red-rimmed eyes. "Oh, I've been paid well enough," he said. "Come and see." Into the farmyard they stepped. Mindy's dad dodged the throng of approaching goats, avoided a rooster and his ladies, and laughed out loud as he came face to face with 3 thriving geese. The end. Thanks for listening to this story. Remember to like, share, and subscribe if you're enjoying these stories.